You're watching Tax Free Weekends, an initiative by ICICI Direct. In this episode, we will touch upon equity linked savings schemes or ELSS schemes as they are popularly known. For this, today we have with us Ms. Cheenu Gupta, Fund Manager, Canara Robeco Mutual Fund. Welcome, Cheenu.
Thanks, Sheetal. Yeah, just to begin with, I think we Indians are really very price and value focused. So we can say we save electricity, we reuse old clothes, and in fact, we even save money while shopping, by shopping during sales. So this saving attitude, in fact, is very much in our DNA. Even our Prime Minister had once spoken about how he manages to save on a return airfare by planning 2 trips at a time when he's on a tour. That apart, I think we all know that a rupee saved is like a rupee earned. And by doing efficient tax planning, one can actually save on the income that would have been spent on taxes. In fact, if you see, even the government wants a common man to do these savings, and hence the tax saving options available under Section 80C.
So that's very true. So now, can you will explain our investors on how mutual funds can be an instrument for tax saving?
Sure. So again, as I would want to say that if now the younger generation especially believes that tax planning is an important part of the financial planning that they do. And as we all know, savings in one's earlier stages of career can actually go a long way because they turn up into big amounts later on. At the same time, when you have a good working horizon in front of you, your risk appetite is higher. And I believe these are the right times to participate in the real power of compounding over long term through equities. So what better way of achieving the dual objective of tax planning and wealth creation than investing in these ELSS schemes?
So can you further provide insights on what are ELSS schemes and how they provide an wealth creation objective also?
So ELSS schemes are actually they are like mutual funds, the normal mutual funds that we would have, equity-based mutual funds. However, there is a 3-year lock-in that you have in these schemes. So I would rather put it more like a normal equity-linked saving instrument with just a 3-year lock-in. So you are getting the tax incentive because you are using these schemes to save money.
So Cheenu, like you said, ELSS schemes are primarily investing into equities. So now, with markets going to all-time highs, our investors are a little skeptical on getting into, any equity-based tax, whether it's tax-saving instrument or whether it's equity mutual funds. So what would you advise them, that whether ELSS will be the right instrument at this stage?
Yeah, very true. In fact, I would want to say here is that one thing which is very important is timing the market has never been a great idea. Be it for individual or even like great investors, that has really not worked. Also, when we are talking of these ELSS funds, we are actually talking of investors who have a time horizon at least of 3 years, right? Which is decently long for someone to actually worry about a short-term correction nearby. So I would say when one is investing with these long-time horizons in mind, maybe 3 years and longer especially, one can actually put these short-term concerns to rest. On the other hand, if you see what is the cost of not investing is like not participating in the great story called India. So, and as we are all aware, India has taken rapid strides during the last few years and even in the COVID times. You look at all the initiatives, be it GST implementation, the corporate tax cuts, the labor reform laws, and now even the PLI and other initiatives under Atmanirbhar Bharat. I think all these have gone a long way to promote India as a good manufacturing destination. And this story can continue. In fact, the speed at which digitization would have picked up in this COVID times in India is almost unbelievable. We all know COVID was one of the most unfortunate and painful things in 2020. But I think I have my own doubts that maybe 2 years down the line, we may actually be talking of COVID as one of the triggers for digitization in India and productivity improvement. So one really doesn't know what the future has in hold for us. So I would rather say that one participate in this good growth domestic story of Indian economies.
So right. So in that sense, ELSS would rather score a little bit higher given the potential that it has compared to other, traditional instruments like a PPF or an FD.
Yeah, in fact, as we all
correct?
know, yeah, very true. In fact, as we all know, of all the tax saving options available today, ELSS has one of the shortest lock-in period. You talk about other options, maybe the tax saving bank FD that you have, or the life insurance products. So they have a 5-year lock-in. Be it the NSE option that you have, they have a 5 to 10-year lock-in, and even the PPF that we are talking about, almost a 15-year lock-in. So I think the lock-in of all these options are very large compared to an ELSS of where we are talking about 3 years. So automatically this provides like the least amount of as in lock-in period, and hence the best liquidity option for an investor. And I must say that if one is really scared, one can always start with small amounts.
So is SIP an option available for investing into ELSS?
Yes, definitely. So if one has started tax planning or financial planning right in the beginning, one can definitely use this option of SIP of doing small investments all throughout the year, so that by the end of the period, you've achieved your tax planning, as well as you've taken off that fear that you would have of putting in large amounts.
You also touched upon the various government reforms, that has been announced in the budget and other factors also. Would you throw more insights, on how, an ELSS fund manager would create alpha? I see your fund has, delivered around 20% CAGR, and that's pretty impressive. So if you can, highlight more on how your portfolio has been composed and how it can, deliver in future also.
Sure, I would do that. So when it comes to the portfolio construction that we've done for the tax saving fund, so I'll tell you generally my portfolio is comprised of a good mix of stocks in 3 buckets. The first bucket is the stable bucket, which normally comprises of the industry leaders. Now these are the ones which have good track record, and I would say that the risk here is relatively lower, and hence this is the bucket that gets the stability to the fund. The second bucket, which is in fact the larger part of the fund, is the growth bucket. So the idea here is that the stocks in this bucket may or may not be the leaders. In fact, they could be the challengers of their sectors, but they would definitely be the ones growing the fastest in their industry. So they are benefiting from this rise in market share, as well as the growth in the market segment that they are present in. And they are benefiting from these tailwinds that aid to their growth. So this is the second bucket of growth stocks, which is as I said, the larger part of the fund. And the third and the last bucket is actually the trends, turnarounds, or the cyclical bets. So the stocks here could be relatively new, maybe from the new age industry like the digital based, electronic manufacturing, etc. Their track record available may not be that long enough. Or you might say that they are the ones that where the track record is not so good. So when we're talking about these turnarounds, but definitely there is a chance of improving their track record because of either the change in management that these companies have seen, or the sector cycles that are happening, or the regulatory tailwinds that they are benefiting from. So this category is actually like the alpha bets of our portfolio. So overall, if you see, our portfolio is like a mix of stability, growth, and alpha bets. I think this is something that has helped the solid construction of the portfolio. And if I have to talk about my own fund management, so I think there are 2 things that I definitely believe in. So firstly, it would be that I believe in higher conviction bets, but these are the bets which are also backed by data points. Why data points? Because we have to watch out for pitfalls and to see if there are any corrections that are needed in time. So you can go in with higher conviction bet, especially if you have a watchful eye on these data points. Secondly, avoiding mistakes or maybe weeding out losers is equally important. I think both these approaches have helped the fund tremendously and got the fund where it is with top class performance across time periods.
So does this 3-year lock-in help you in constructing the portfolio?
To an extent, as I said, the alphabet section that I look at, there you do realize that anyone who's coming into the fund is coming in with at least a 3-year horizon. So you can look at these trends, which in 3-year time, initially they might look expensive, but definitely in 3 years, when these trends start playing out, the kind of growth that you see in these companies turn out to be a lot better. So that alpha part of construction does help with that view in mind of 3-year. Yes, you are right that when it comes to sectors, what I mean to say is we are looking on a longer time horizon. So when I talk especially of the consumption sector, we all know in India, consumption is a structural story. If you talk about the aspiration of the customers here, or the way the households have been moving up, right from low income to middle income to top income brackets, that in itself in India is a good long-term story. So yes, from long-term perspective, we do see consumption sector very attractive, and hence we have a decent large proportion of consumption stocks in the portfolio. At the same time, when you're talking of finance, so finance, we do see that it's coming out of a tough period. So there was this period where you had these regulatory NPAs and all the issues in the banking sector. It's coming out of it. At the same time, financial penetration in the country is picking up. So finance is another sector that we are bullish on. So yes, these are two sectors where we do have long-term horizon.
Yeah, Cheenu. So ELSS are, a 3-year lock-in kind of a product which gives the fund manager the ability to construct a portfolio in a better way and gives a wealth creation opportunity. So that's how we should, and investors should see an ELSS scheme. What would be your final advice for the tax savers?
Yeah, rightfully, I think ELSS with this 3-year lock-in is a good tool not only for the investor, because investor is with this peace of mind. He does not need to bother. He is there in with 3 year. So a small correction which happens for 2-3 months, one really need not bother. We've seen the pullback that happens in equity markets. So that is peace of mind for the investor. And yes, for a fund manager, as I said, that we can definitely look for participating in the long-term growth stories, because we know that any investor in the fund will definitely be there for 3 years or even more. So yes, that helps.
With this, we come to an end of another episode on tax savings. Hopefully this conversation provides some good insights on how to save taxes, and you would, rather not wait, or maybe, not wait for the markets to correct and just get into your equity linked savings schemes. Thank you, Cheenu, for coming in and giving us this insightful conversation. Thank you so much.